must be our goal and our guide. And all that we strive for as a human family, dignity and hope, progress and prosperity, depends on peace. But peace depends on us.
A very good afternoon to you, and thank you so much for joining us this afternoon. The show is Diaspora Dispatches. My name is Miriam Mugutu, and I trust that you've been well. And today being a Monday, we have so much in store for you, as a lot of things have been happening. And for those who are watching, I am sure you're familiar with the stay-at-home order that is happening right now in the IPOB areas there in Nigeria. So we shall talk about that and other news also making headlines across the continent of Africa this afternoon. And before we go further, I'd like for us to start with Burundi. We shall start with Burundi, as Burundi's President Evariste Ndayishimiye has arrived in Kenya for a 2-day visit. This is Mr. Ndayishimiye's sixth foreign visit in less than a year in power. His predecessor, the late Pierre Nkurunziza, only left Burundi once during his last term in office when he went by road to neighboring Tanzania. Mr. Ndayishimiye's visit to Kenya is an opportunity to strengthen brotherhood relations between Burundians and Kenyans. That is a statement by his spokesperson. Since winning the presidency in June 2020, Mr. Ndayishimiye has been keen to revive diplomatic relations after Burundi isolated itself from May 2015. Following a failed coup in the country early this month, he's visited Uganda, another member of the East African Community Bloc. And we have one of our correspondents there in Kisumu, where President Evariste Ndayishimiye was a part of that event that took place there, was received by former Prime Minister of Kenya, Raila Odinga. And so we do have our correspondent there on standby, and he shall be talking with us much later. But right now we head on to Zambia. And police in Zambia have started arresting members of the Resident Doctors Association after their leaders announced a strike on Friday. The Resident Doctors Association of Zambia is demanding the recruitment of 500 doctors and payment of salary arrears, among other issues, according to its president, Dr. Brian Sampa. They are also demanding the creation of new positions for senior doctors who have continued to receive salaries at the level of junior doctors. And then we head over to Nigeria. And authorities in Nigeria say 11 children who were among many other kidnapped from an Islamic school by gunmen on Sunday afternoon have been released because they were too small and could not walk. There has been no official confirmation of exact number of students kidnapped from the school in the town of Tegina. A teacher told the BBC that 150 students were missing, while other reports put the figure at 200. In a statement, the governor of Niger State expressed sadness at the news of the abduction, adding that the security situation in his state has reached a crisis level. And then we head over to Somaliland, and the self-declared Republic of Somaliland is holding parliamentary and municipal elections on Monday, some of which are overdue by 10 years. It is its 17th election since declaring independence from Somalia 30 years ago. A member of a minority clan is standing for the first time. A few women are also standing at present. The parliament has also only one female member. The territory is not recognized internationally as a country, although it operates as a nation-state and is largely peaceful. Somalia, which insists Somaliland is still part of its territory, has not held a democratic poll for more than half a century. And then we head over to Mali, and leaders of the West African grouping ECOWAS have suspended Mali's membership from the bloc following last week's military coup, the second in 9 months. A coup leader and now interim president, Colonel Assimi Goïta, attended the meeting in the Ghanaian capital, Accra. Ghana's Foreign Minister Shali Ayokor Bochiu told reporters that the bloc has called on Mali to nominate a new civilian prime minister immediately to adhere to an 18-month transition period and to hold presidential elections next February. Ghana has said the stability of Mali was critical if West Africa was to hold back terrorist activities from the region. Colonel Goïta seized power after ordering the arrest of the transitional president Bando and Prime Minister Mokhtar Wane. We head over to Ethiopia, and more than 10,000 people in Ethiopia took part yesterday in an anti-US rally in the capital Addis Ababa, denouncing President Joe Biden's policy on the conflict in the country's northern region of Tigray. Biden last week called for a ceasefire in the conflict, which is now in its 7th month, and imposed restrictions on visas and economic assistance. But protesters say they are meddling. People also showed their support to Russia and China. The rally and the smaller ones elsewhere in Ethiopia was organized by the Ministry of Women, Children and Youth under the banner Our Voice for Freedom and Sovereignty. Ministry officials had earlier predicted that more than 1 million people would attend the nationwide protest, with only 100,000 Addis Ababa alone. No turnout figures were immediately available. We head over to Chad, and Chad has accused the Central Africa Army of killing 6 of its soldiers on a Sunday, 5 of whom were abducted and then executed after an attack on a border post in Chadian territory. The Jamena authorities termed this as a war crime and vowed to retaliate. The Central African Republic frequently accused Chad of supporting Central African armed rebel groups in its territories. The soldiers were killed during a confrontation between Central African soldiers and militia group by the name Ali Darassa Unite Apo near the border with Chad, according to Chadian Foreign Minister Sheriz Mahamat Zene. The group has been accused of trying to topple the Central African Republic regime. The border post was being manned by 12 soldiers when the attack occurred at dawn. Authorities from the Central African Republic have not yet commented on the attack. Chad is now calling upon the international community to intervene in this alleged perpetration. And then we head over to Sudan, and the International Criminal Court's prosecutor on Sunday urged Sudan's transitional government to hand the suspect wanted for war crimes and genocide in the Darfur conflict, the Sudanese official news agency has reported. The ICC prosecutor Fatou Bensouda arrived in Sudan's western Darfur region on Saturday to meet with authorities affected communities in the region. The court said Bensouda was inspired by the resilience and courage of the Darfur people. Among those wanted by the International Court is former Sudanese President Omar al-Bashir, who has been in jail in Khartoum since his ouster in April 2019 and is facing several trials in Sudanese courts related to his 3 decades of authoritarian rule. The conflict in Sudan's Darfur region broke out when rebels from the territory's ethnic Central and Sub-Saharan Africa community launched an insurgency in 2003, complaining of oppression by the Arab-dominated government in Khartoum. Al-Bashir's government responded with a campaign of aerial bombings and raids by militias known as Janjaweed, who stand accused of mass killings and rapes. Up to 300,000 people were killed and 2.7 million others were driven from their homes. And then we head over to South Africa, and President Cyril Ramaphosa has announced that South Africa is to reimpose stricter measures against COVID-19, fearing the whole country will soon face a third wave of the pandemic. 4 of the nation's 9 provinces, including Gauteng, which includes Johannesburg and Pretoria, has the highest population, are already battling a third wave of the infections, Ramaphosa said on Sunday. And then we head over to South Sudan, and the renewed arms embargo on South Sudan by the United Nations Security Council is a threat to the implementation of peace agreement, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and International Cooperation has said. Last week, the United Nations Security Council voted to extend the sanction regime for a year despite resistance from 2 countries, India and Kenya, that were absent from the vote. The measure renews the arms embargo along with an assets freeze and global travel ban imposed on 8 South Sudanese nationals for their role in fueling the conflict. It will remain active until 31st of May 2022. Reacting to the extension of the arms embargo, the minister says that the move will delay the graduation of the unified forces since the country will not be in a position to buy arms for the peacekeepers. Ambassador Thomas Kenneth stated that the action by the United Nations Security Council undermines the sovereignty of the country and leaving the country prey in an event of external and internal aggression. According to a report, the estimated total number of guns, both illicit and licit, held by civilians in South Sudan are now, a report in 2013 stood at 1,255,000 in 1,255,000 in 2017 and 3 million in 2013. In Yes, and besides, the Defense Forces of South Sudan are reported to have about 351,000 firearms. And then some news about Biafra. I see a lot of you already present here. Now shops are locked, schools closed, and streets are deserted in parts of southern Nigeria following a sit-at-home order by the indigenous people of Biafra. The group told people to stay at home on Monday to mark the 54th anniversary of the declaration of the breakaway state of Biafra, that is on 30th of May 1967, which led to 3 years of war with Nigeria. The event was moved a day to allow people to attend church services on Sunday, and IPOB leader Nnamdi Kanu said in a broadcast. But governors of 5 southeast states have asked people to disregard the order and go about their businesses. Some government offices are open, but workers have stayed away for fear of attacks by members and have in the past forcefully enforced the order. 4 states in the southeast and neighboring rivers in the Niger State have imposed dusk to dawn curfews in some areas amid the tension. Authorities in Abia State also banned commercial motorcycles and tricycles, as the government said they were used by criminals to carry out attacks. And still staying with Biafra, and Ebonyi State Governor David Umahi on Sunday made a U-turn over the sit-at-home order by indigenous people of Biafra, calling on residents of the state who wish to stay indoors on Monday not to be afraid to do so, saying that they will not be penalized. Umahi, who observed that it was the constitutional right of any person to remain at home anytime he so wished, equally pointed out that it was the right of residents to go about their businesses, stressing that nobody would curtail their movement. The governor made remarks in a statement by his special advisor on media, Francis Nwanze, which was made available to journalists in Abakaliki. Umahi had early on Saturday threatened to seize any shop locked by its own owner as a result of the sit-at-home order issued by the indigenous people of Biafra. The governor issued the warning during a live broadcast to mark his 6 years in office in Abakaliki, adding that the directive emanating from IPOB, he said that was an act of foolishness. I don't know how you guys feel about it, but that is the latest from the continent of Africa this afternoon. So I would like for us to have just a bit of talk. And as I said there earlier, the president of Burundi is in Kenya right now, and this is his maiden trip to Kenya, but we shall be linking up with our correspondent who is in the lakeside city of Kisumu to bring us the latest, but that will be much later. But I'd like us to talk about the issue, the abductions that happened yesterday before we get into the issue of Biafra, as Biafrans are celebrating, I think, is it the 54th independence there. We will get into the history of what significance this day has for the people over there. But of concern, I think, is the increased level of abductions that has become a concern. I don't know why. This is when a lot of people in Nigeria are getting concerned about this matter that has been a problem, has continued to be a problem there, and now has become a very high-end, lucrative business in Nigeria as the authority act very helpless and clueless on what is really happening in Nigeria. So an armed armed gang abducted dozens of students from an Islamic school in the north-central Nigerian state of Niger on Sunday. Police and state government officials have said it's about 200 children were abducted that time on Sunday, and I think they left a few were released who were too young to walk. I don't know. It's not even getting out of hand. I think this is completely out of hand. This is worrying. And the spokesperson for the Niger State Police said in a statement that the gunmen on motorcycles attacked a town of Tegina in the Rafi local government area of the state at approximately 3 p.m. That was yesterday. So while we were here having our show, yesterday we had the Africa Showdown show. And very interestingly, we were still highlighting the insecurity in Nigeria. And while we were talking, I did not know that a part of Nigeria was being attacked, and the same issues we were talking about here were actually happening there in Nigeria. So this is worrying by any this is just worrying what is happening there in Nigeria. And so now I think it's the time that presidents there are getting very concerned and tired over what is happening in Nigeria. So I don't know if President Buhari will do anything to try to address the issue of insecurity in the larger Nigeria, or he will just continue to be aloof and not worry of what is happening there in the country. So the students were snatched by an armed group who attacked the town of Tegina in the northwestern Nigeria, and of course armed groups carrying out kidnappings for ransom has been blamed for a series of raids on schools and universities in northern Nigeria in recent months, abducting more than 700 students. So yesterday, since December and early this year. Yesterday, we were having the same conversation here, were we not? If you joined us yesterday, we were talking about the same thing here over what was happening there in Nigeria. So I'm not surprised that while we were doing that, actual abductions were actually taking place. We were here raising concern about the increased numbers, and yet the same thing was actually happening there in Nigeria. So Tegina said there are approximately 300 pupils aged between 7 and 15, and he said the pupils live at home and only attend classes. So this is the proprietor, the owner of that school where those kidnappings took place. So anyway, that is a concern. So now let's just get into this anniversary of Biafrans. What is happening today? Did you sit at home? Did you go to work? Apparently today there was a sit-at-home order that was given by the leadership of the indigenous people of Biafra. That will be Mr. Nnamdi Kanu, who said that should all sit at home and not go to work. And there are some governors in states that were targeted who said they will not, agree to this order. But one of them we saw make about turn there, and that is the Ebonyi State Governor David Umahi, who said, you know what? If you want to sit at home, you can sit at home. And if you wish to stay indoors on Monday, you do that. Don't be afraid, saying that you will not be penalized. And for those who don't understand, I know that some of our viewers who watch us and might not know the history behind, the Biafra and what we keep talking about here. Now, Biafra, officially, the Republic of Biafra was a secessionist state in West Africa that existed from May 1967 to January 1970. During the Nigerian Civil War. Its territory consisted of the eastern region of Nigeria. After Biafra's declaration of independence, Nigeria declared war on the state, defeating them in the Nigerian Civil War and reuniting the two states. Biafra was formally recognized by Gabon, Haiti. These are countries that already recognized Biafra as a state. Just a bit of a history, Let's go to class and learn, for those who might not know what is this Biafra we keep talking about here. Biafra was formally recognized by Gabon, by Haiti, by Ivory Coast, Tanzania here in East Africa, and Zambia, and other nations which did not give official recognition but provided support and assistance to Biafra included France, Spain, Portugal, Norway, Rhodesia, South Africa, and Vatican City. Look at that. Even the Vatican City offered support to the Biafra nation then, and Biafra received aid from non-state actors, including Joint Church Aid, Holy Ghost Fathers of Ireland, and under their direction, Caritas International and the U.S. Catholic Relief, and of course, I think I've told you here before, Medicine Sans Frontier, the Doctors Without Border organization was actually formed during that time in Biafra, because one of the French doctors was traveling to that part of Nigeria and seeing what was happening, he went and brought in other doctors from France, and that is how Medicine Sans Frontier actually was formed. Doctors Without Borders also originated in response to the suffering that the people of Biafra were going through during that time. Okay, and after 2.5 years of war, during which almost 2 million Biafrans, civilians, 3/4 of them small children, died from starvation caused by the total blockade of the region by the Nigerian government, Biafran forces under Nigeria's motto of no victor, no vanquished, surrendered to the Nigerian federal military government. Now, the surrender was facilitated by the Biafran Vice President and Chief of General Staff, Major General Philip Efong, and who assumed leadership of the Republic of Biafra after the regional president, Colonel Chukwuemeka Odemwegu Ojukwu. I'm struggling with these names. I tell you, your names, it's just a whole compound, okay? Chukwuemeka Odemwegu Ojukwu, who fled to Ivory Coast. So after he fled to Ivory Coast, his Vice President and Chief of Staff, Major General Philip Efong, assumed the leadership of the Republic of Biafra back then. And of course, after the surrender of Biafra, some Igbos who had fled the conflict returned to their properties but were unable to claim them back from the new occupants. This became law of the Abandoned Properties Act that was enacted on the 28th of September 1979. It was purported that at the start of the Civil War, Igbos withdrew their funds from the Nigerian banks and converted it to the Biafran currency. After the war, bank accounts owned by Biafrans were seized and a Nigerian panel resolved to give every Igbo person with an account only £20. Now, federal projects in Biafra are also greatly reduced compared to other parts of Nigeria, and I think that part of Nigeria has really suffered when it comes to economic marginalization. So it started from back then, and in an inter-society study, it was found that the Nigerian security forces also extorted approximately $100 million per year for illegal roadblocks and other methods of from Igbo land, a cultural sub-region of Biafra in what is now southern Nigeria, causing greater mistrust of the Igbo citizenry towards the Nigerian security forces. So as we speak today, I'm sure you all know that today Biafrans, a lot of them in some states there in Nigeria, are actually participating in part of the sit at home today in commemoration of what Biafrans called the 54th Independence Day there in Nigeria. So I was just giving a little bit of history for those our viewers who do not understand what is happening and why every time we come here and we're speaking about Biafra, what's really happening and what is the history behind the Biafran people. So actually there is a map, earlier map, that showed the country of Biafra before, let me get you that fact. It's factual that the Republic of Biafra comprised of 29,848 square miles. That is about 77,310 kilometers squared of land, with territorial borders shared with Nigeria to the north and west, and with Cameroon to the east. Its coast was on the Gulf of Guinea of the South Atlantic Ocean in the south. The country's northeast bordered the Benue Hills and mountains that led to Cameroon. Three major rivers flow from Biafra into the Gulf of Guinea: the Imo River, the Cross River, and the Niger River. The territory of the Republic of Biafra is covered nowadays by the reorganized Nigerian states of Ebonyi, Enugu, Anambra, Imo, and Abia, while the Igbo people of the current Nigerian state of Delta were not included in Biafra as per Ojukwu's decree founding Biafra. Igbo nationalists amongst the few Igbos in Delta did fight on the Biafran side. And so anyway, so languages that are spoken in this Biafra land is the languages of Biafra were Igbo, or still are Igbo, Anang, Efik, Ibibio, Ugoni, and Ijao, among others. However, English was used as the national language. And of course, the Republic of Biafra was a unitary republic administered under the emergency measures. It consisted of the executive branch in the form of Chukwuemeka Odumegu Ojukwu and a judicial branch in the form of the Ministry of Justice. Its legal system was based on the English common law. So this was a whole country. This was a whole country, all right? For those who don't understand the history of Biafra, Biafra was a whole country that was even recognized in the map earlier on there. And so because the early modern maps of Africa from the 15th to the 19th centuries, drawn from accounts written by explorers and travelers, show references of Biafra, or what they call Biafara or Biafaris. In his personal writings from his travels, Reverend Charles Thomas defined the locations of islands in the Bight of Biafran. So they recognized it was recognized as a standalone country there. After returning to Nigeria, that is Chukwuemeka. All right, the federal government reneged on the agreement, backpedaled on the agreement that they had with the Biafrans, and unilaterally declared the creation of several new states, including some that gerrymander the Igbos in Biafra. And on the 26th of May, the Ojukwu decreed to secede from Nigeria after consultations with community leaders from across the eastern region. 4 days later, Ojukwu unilaterally declared the independence of the Republic of Biafra, citing the Igbos killed in the post-coup violence as reasons for the declaration of their independence. It is believed this was one of the major factors that sparked the war, the 1967 war. The large amount of oil in the region also created conflict, as oil was already becoming a major component of the Nigerian economy. And Biafra that time was ill-equipped for war, with fewer army personnel and less equipment than the Nigerian military, but had advantages over the Nigerian state as they were fighting in their homeland and had the support of most Biafrans. Okay, all right. So we went to class today. We're learning a bit of a history of Biafra, because today you guys are celebrating 54 years of independence. I don't know independence in what sense, because you're fighting to be allowed to have a referendum for you to be allowed to go and self-determine, right? But I think emanating from the 1967 war there, so it's a whole. In 1966, maybe we should give you that information. Northern officers and army units staged a counter coup, killing General Agui Ironsi and several southern officers, predominantly Muslim officers, named a general from a small ethnic group, the Angas. I don't know if that's how you say it. Is it the Angas or the Angas in central Nigeria? General Yakubu Jagowan as the head of the federal military government. The two coups deepened Nigerians' ethnic tensions, and in September 1966, approximately 30,000 Igbo civilians were killed in the north, and some northerners were killed in backlashes in eastern cities. And that is one of the reasons why Chukwuemeka said, you know what, if not for anything, these 30,000 plus Igbos who have died will be the reason why we'd like to secede and go form our own country. Let me hear what you have to say today, and what are you doing on this Independence Day. And that governor, Ebonyi State Governor, who went back, made a U-turn on Sunday over the sit-at-home order. He was initially not for that order. He did not agree with, IPOB members of community of wanting to stay at home today. But later on yesterday, he went and made a U-turn, and he said any resident of the state of Ebonyi who wants to stay at home, who wish to stay indoors on Monday, you are free to do so. And he said you should not be afraid to do so, saying that you could not be penalized at all. Omahi, who observed that it was the constitutional right of any person to remain at home anytime he so wished, equally pointed out that it was the right of residents to go about their businesses, stressing that nobody could curtail their movement. The governor made these remarks in a statement by his special advisor on media, Francis Anuaze, which was made available to journalists in Abakaliki. Abakaliki, do you know that place? All right, so let me just read a few of your comments this afternoon and hear what you were doing today and what is happening. And were you sitting at home, or did you go to school? Did you go to work? What's going on where you are? Are you in Nigeria? Are you in Biafra? Where are you watching us from this afternoon? Because it's always a pleasure to know where you're tuned in from. And however, the governor of Ebonyi, in what appeared to be a volte-face on the matter, the state government said the government of Ebonyi State received several requests from some families and residents requesting that they would remain they would like to remain indoors on Monday, that is today, to organize private family prayers in honor of their loved ones who were murdered during the unfortunate civil war. Remember, the one I was just giving you the history about. So they're saying, could you let us, they're saying they wrote to the governor and said today we'd like to stay at home and commemorate and think about and honor the memory of our forefathers, family members, our loved ones who were killed during this war in between 1967 and 1970. And part of the communication, I'll just read it. Following the foregoing, the governor, David Mwenze Umahi, who is highly in touch with the people, I'm just quoting what the communication said, who's highly in touch with the people, has directed that those who may wish to remain at home with their shops locked should remain and should neither be penalized nor their shops seized, as it is their constitutional right, while the rights of those who may wish to go about their normal businesses should not be infringed upon, as it is equally their constitutional right. Meanwhile, the Delta State Police Commander said it had deployed undercover police detectives across the state for the purpose of arresting anyone caught carrying Biafran flag. You hear, if you're walking around and you're having this flag, the government is coming after you. And they're saying they have deployed, undercover police detectives across the state in Ebonyi, and the acting Police Public Relations Officer in the state, Bright Edafe, said this in a statement on Sunday in Asaba. He said the command is aware of the threat of the proscribed indigenous people of Biafra. This is what the police said. And their intention of parading themselves in some parts of the state. The Commissioner of Police, Delta State, Mohammed Ali, who is determined to maintain peace in the state, has urged officers and men of the state command to be on red alert, watchful, and deal decisively with the troublemakers. The CP therefore warns that on their account, should anybody be seen carrying out hoisting Biafran flag in whatever this case, in the state will be arrested. So you have been warned, even as you continue with your seat at home today in commemoration of your loved ones who are perished or suffered during that period. The government is saying they're watching. All right. So I don't. What are your thoughts of today? What message would you like to pass to the government of Nigeria this afternoon? I'm sure somebody somewhere is watching. All right, and we will continue with this conversation. Even if I'd like to know more details on the kidnappings that happened yesterday in that school in Nigeria, where over 200 students were kidnapped. While we were talking here about kidnappings that had happened over the week, apparently another one took place at 3 p.m. yesterday while we were having the same conversation. So could you, avail any information that you have, and then we will continue with this conversation. But right now, I'm joined by our correspondent. I told you earlier, okay, he's still working on it. President of Burundi, Evariste Ndayishimiye, is in the country, and we had one of our reporters in the lakeside city of Kisumu, and I wanted to hear more on what has been happening, because I saw the president of Burundi talk earlier during a press conference at the Kisumu State Lodge, so I wanted to know what really is happening there. But hey, let me know what's happening. Are you at home? Did you lock your shop? Did you go to school? And because according to the reports that we are receiving, shops have been locked, schools have been closed, and streets are deserted in parts of southern Nigeria following a sit-at-home order by indigenous people of Biafra group there. And the group told the people, I think, was it Kanu that said yesterday, to stay at home to mark the 54th anniversary of the declaration of the breakaway state of Biafra that took place on 30th of May 1967. That was supposed to be yesterday, but I think, was it Kanu that said that yesterday, go to church, worship, do whatever, and then, now the sit-at-home the commemoration was moved for today on Monday. So are you observing the sit-at-home order? What are you doing? Did you go to school? Did you go to the market? Are you just praying, or are you causing trouble? Because the government of Nigeria has said if they meet anybody with the flag of the IPOB, then you will have some questions to answer there. So they're saying they've put undercover police officers there in these particular states, and they're watching anybody who might try to cause some trouble. So I know you're watching me, and a lot of you, I think, are from Biafra right now, because I see from your comments here. Could you please share with me the significance of this day for you, and why this is important, and why it's important to remember what happened 54 years ago? So right now, I think, Tawish, are you ready? Good afternoon, if you can hear me. Good afternoon. Samuel Tawish, if you can hear me, good afternoon.
Yes, good. Yes, sure. Yeah, good afternoon, Miriam. Yes, I can hear you loud and clear.
All right, we are in the middle of another conversation. Biafrans are celebrating 54 years of is it independence or what? Then Biafra, and today they had a sit-at-home order that was issued by their leader. But that is the conversation I'm having right now. But I also told our viewers that the Burundian president is in the country, and earlier on he had a press conference there in Kisumu. So could you bring us up to date with the latest there from Kisumu, Samuel Tawish?
Thank you so much, Miriam, for this opportunity. Just maybe to brief you exactly about the visit, the state visit rather, by the Burundian president, His Excellency Evariste Ndayishimiye. I think that is how it is pronounced. I'm not very sure about that other second name.
Evariste Ndayishimiye, yes. Let's just go with Evariste.
Yeah, sure. Yes. Thank you so much, Miriam.
Go ahead.
Yeah. So basically what is happening is that the president of Burundi made his way. Of course, he landed in Kisumu airport today at around 10:15 or thereabout, if I'm not very wrong, and then headed straight to Kisumu State Lodge, where he had a meeting, rather a bilateral talk with his Kenyan counterpart, President Uhuru Kenyatta. And remember also the Burundian president was actually had come alongside Her Excellency, the First Lady of Burundi, that is Madam Angeline. Of course, they've had a number of discussions, so especially on the business front, trade, and the bilateral talks between Kenya and Burundi. And I think one keynote that we've picked out of that particular speech after the talks that the president of Kenya, Kenyatta, and the president of Burundi have had is more how they are going to strengthen the ties between Kenya and Burundi, and more specifically, the Burundian president calling on the Kenyan investors, more of them to go and invest in Burundi. I think it's one of those opportunities, saying that this is the moment for the Kenyan investors to go and invest in Burundi. And I think the same is going to be reciprocated right here in Kenya. So basically, I think it's just strengthening the ties that were between Burundi and Kenya, and making sure that the East Africa region and unity within this bloc is actually also fostered. So basically, that is what the Kenyan leaders were stressing. On the other side, I think on the side of the First Ladies, Margaret Kenyatta and Madam Angeline, they spoke more of how they are going to empower women, and especially addressing the issue of the maternal health care for both mothers and babies. So I think these are some of the things that really we have experienced out of the press conference that already the president and, of course, his Burundian counterpart have had at State House here in Kisumu, Miriam.
Okay, so the Burundian president, is he still at Kisumu, or he's back in Nairobi, or do you know about his whereabouts? I know he will be the chief guest tomorrow during the Madaraka Day celebrations. Do you know any other activity that he will be involved in today with President Uhuru Kenyatta? Maybe.
Well, actually, the Burundian president will not be going to Nairobi after all. He will have his stay in Kisumu. And that is why you see his state visit has been actually been handled here in Kisumu. And it has also to go to our viewers and audience that this is the first time ever in Kenya's history where we're having a president actually visiting Kenya on a state visit and making it happen in Kisumu State Lodge. And I think it's going to go down in history. So basically, our Burundian president will not be making his way to Nairobi. All these activities are going to be handled right here in Kisumu. As we speak now, of course, after the bilateral talks between him and President Kenyatta, is headed straight rather to the hotel where he will be accommodated between now and tomorrow. But I also understand that he will be accompanying President Uhuru Kenyatta to launch some of the projects that are lined up at least today and tomorrow before the Madaraka Day celebrations.
All right. Thank you so much. That is Samuel Tawish bringing us the latest of Burundi's President Evariste Ndayishimiye, who is in a 2-day state visit here in Kenya, and he made his maiden visit basically in the country. So, Tawish, before I let you go, as I told you earlier, I was just in the middle of just bringing us up to date with the history of Biafra, a nation, the IPOB family, and today they're commemorating 54 years after that war on Biafra land, anniversary 54 years today. So what do you have to say to that? I'm sure you're quite familiar with this history of Biafra.
Okay, thank you, Miriam, for that question. And like I told you earlier, I'm actually, as we speak now, I'm situated at that market where President Uhuru Kenyatta is expected to launch it anytime from now, after he's done with the other launches that he's actually handling somewhere in the CBD and Kisumu CBD. So I'll be giving you a brief about what exactly is happening in this particular market and the expectation ahead of President Uhuru Kenyatta's official launch of this market. But again, straight to your question about the Biafrans, I think the Biafran people have really traveled a very long journey, looking at where they've come from and where they are headed to. The journey to where they are headed to seems to be becoming nearer and nearer every other elapsing minute. So I will only but urge those that are behind the agitation to have the Biafra, actually the Biafra agitation, to continue with the same spirit and push for the same, because again, they are almost realizing the fruits of the struggle and the journey that they've gone through all along, agitating for restoration of Biafra, Miriam.
All right. Thank you so much. Samuel Tawish, keep safe. And of course, I think we will be with you possibly tomorrow, God willing, for the latest when the country will be marking its Madaraka Day. Thank you so much for your time this afternoon. All right. That is Samuel Tawish coming to us.
Maybe if I should just give you a...
Yes.
Sorry, Miriam.
Yes. No, go
Maybe
ahead.
if I should just give you a small brief of this particular event where I am.
Is that the market?
Yeah, well, yeah, sure, it is the market actually. Not necessarily the market, but I think these are the offices, of course, the latrines, the toiletries rather. But it's actually a very big kind of facility. It sits on an almost 7-acre piece of land. You remember this land was initially for the railway, which was actually recovered and by the Kisumu County government, and the same has actually seen the kind of this facility being put up here. A facility that is actually expected to host over 10,000 business traders in this particular place. And just as you can see already, there's of course a display of what we should be expecting when officially this place is launched. And this is one of the facilities President Uhuru Kenyatta will indeed be coming to launch in a couple of minutes from now. You can see people already waiting. They're just having some of them are actually having the meals around here, waiting for President Uhuru Kenyatta, of course, to arrive and launch this particular facility. So it's quite a very big facility. I can't quite go the entire of it, but as you can see, the farthest end there, that is the pavilion where President Uhuru Kenyatta will be actually having to host this event after the launch, the official launch of the project itself. So basically, like we've said, the president has lined up so many developmental projects in the lakeside city, and this is just but part of it. Earlier on, of course, President Uhuru Kenyatta has had to launch the Kisumu shipyard. That is at the Kisumu CBD, just adjacent to Lake Victoria. And it's one of those, of course, developmental projects the president is very keen on ensuring that he fulfills in as far as his administration is concerned. So specifically for this one, he's going to host a record of over 10,000 business traders. They're going to be M-Pesa shops. They're going to be, vendors who are doing, for example, fish and other things. And also it's going to have a kind of a kindergarten or a small education facility where the children of those who will be working in this particular facility will actually be, will have an opportunity to take their children to school. So basically that is what it is. We're still waiting for President Uhuru Kenyatta to come. I'm not very sure what time exactly he will be arriving here, owing to the fact that he has lined up numerous projects, and the launch and commissioning of the same might actually make it complicated for him. But eventually, we are sure he will arrive. Maybe not on time exactly, but eventually he will have to arrive here, Miriam, I submit to you.
All right. I believe that. Thank you so much, Sambal Tawish. Thank you so much for that update and an education facility there. I think that was a genius idea for the mothers who have perhaps young babies who require, to go to early school or play school there. I think that will go a long way in helping them. So thank you so much for that update, Samuel Tawish. Thank you. All right, so we were looking at the sit-at-home order that today the family of the IPOB is observing. And I asked a question earlier. I want to know, where are you watching me from? Are you from these parts that are observing a sit-at-home order, or did you go to school? Did you go to the office? Did you open your business today? How are you marking this day? Igwe Solomon KC, you're saying all the good people in the world should please join Biafrans to achieve their dream. And Notik Elijah, you're saying you're watching from Hamburg in Germany. And Mazi Chuku Nyere Chima, you're saying when they implemented Sharia law, nobody contained. All right, very well. Notik Elijah, you're saying what we had today is a partial referendum. The result says it all. We Biafrans have nothing to stop us. So you're saying a lot of you observed the stay-at-home order today. So what were you doing while observing this day? Were you praying? Like I want to know what you're doing during this sit-at-home order. What kind of activities were you involved in today, or are you involved in today? Because I think it's still, what time is it there in Nigeria? Because it's about 12 minutes to 4 p.m. here in Nairobi. That also means that my time is almost over. But before I conclude, keep writing. I'll go through some of your comments, and I'd like to know your thoughts on the 54th anniversary of the declaration of the breakaway state of Biafra today. It was supposed to be yesterday. That was the 30th of May. But I think Kanu said that day should be marked today so that people could go and worship yesterday. So something else that I wanted for us to talk about is this new situation in Mali. Where now ECOWAS has removed Mali from as a member. ECOWAS has removed Mali as a member of that bloc because have suspended Mali's membership rather. I think that is the right journalistic language. ECOWAS has suspended Mali's membership from the bloc following last week's military coup, the second in 9 months, and the coup leader and now the interim president, Colonel Assimi Goïta, attended the meeting in the Ghanaian capital, Accra. And Ghana's Foreign Minister Charlie Ayorkor Bochwe told reporters that the bloc has called on Mali to nominate a new civilian prime minister immediately to an 18-month transition period and to hold presidential elections next February. It also did not call for the interim president. It called for the interim president Assimi Goïta to step down. The army colonel who led the August coup, as well as last week's revolt, was declared president on Friday. Instead, the statement said the head of the transitional government, the vice president, and the prime minister should not, under any circumstances, be candidates in the planned presidential election. The date of that is the 27th of February 2022, already announced for the presidential election and should be absolutely maintained. It stressed that is part of the statement by ECOWAS. There was no immediate response from Goïta, who attended that summit. Now, the 38-year-old Special Forces commander was one of the several colonels who overthrew President Ibrahim Boubacar Keïta last year. He also ordered the arrest last Monday of interim President Bando and Prime Minister Mokhtar Wane, hours after a cabinet reshuffle that left out 2 members of the military. Goïta, who was Ndo's former deputy, justified his actions by saying there was discord within the transitional government and that he was not consulted per the transitional charter when the new cabinet was chosen. And Ndo and Wane resigned on Wednesday while still in detention and were later released to house arrest. Now, in their statement, ECOWAS condemned the arrests, saying the move violated mediation steps taken in the aftermath of the August coup. The bloc demanded that the Malian authorities immediately release the pair. It also went to express strong and deep concerns over the present crisis in Mali, which it noted is coming halfway to the end of the agreed transitional period in the context of the security challenges related to insistent terrorist attacks and the COVID-19 pandemic, with its dire social economic impact there in Mali. And other bodies, including the United Nations, the African Union, have also condemned the power grab. The United Nations Security Council has said the resignation of Ndo and Wane were coerced, while the United States has already pulled its security force support. France and European Union have meanwhile threatened sanctions, and French leader Emmanuel Macron said in an interview with the journal Du Dimanche, a newspaper published on Sunday, that Paris could not stay by the side of a country where there is no longer democratic legitimacy or a transition, and he warned that France would pull its troops out of Mali if the country latches towards radical Islamism under Goita's leadership. France has approximately 5,100 troops in the region under Operation Barkhane, which spans five countries in Sahel region, that including Burkina Faso, Chad, Mali, Mauritania, and Niger. So a lot is at stake here in this current situation in Mali, and I think the generals there have just tasted power and they've realized, no, they might not want to give out this power to the civilians, and that is very dangerous, I think. I think the army sometimes, like we saw what happened in Zimbabwe, after they removed, President, the late Robert Mugabe, the army went back to the barracks. That is what they should have done even in Mali. But you see what has happened in Mali, I think it's a similar script of what is happening even right now in Sudan. And I think the last time we were talking about this, we did not get into the details of it. But you could see the civilian side in the transitional government in Sudan also, they're resigning. A couple of key figures there have resigned because they're citing difficulties in working with the military. So the military, under the former President Omar al-Bashir, were at the helm of power there. He led by military, so they enjoyed that. So having a civilian rule, that did not agree with a lot of things perhaps they wanted to do, that seems to impede them. So they've been frustrating the civilian side, according to the reports that some of these officials are citing. So a lot of them have resigned from this transitional government in Sudan, and I see this being replicated the same way in Mali. So if you're not careful, but the problem with Mali is they're in the middle of fighting this insurgency that has really threatened the security of that country, the insurgency that has permeated the Sahel region. And so the key supporters of have been helping Mali, like France, are now threatening to pull out. The US has already pulled out. So should France pull out, that will leave a huge security gap that Malian forces cannot be able to fill. So it is important for their own interest that this military junta, Goita and his team, come down and look at things from the civilian standpoint and do what's right for the people of Mali. But I don't know if that will be the case because they're saying the reason why they removed the president is because the president went against some of the agreements that they had and did not consult after reshuffling the cabinet and refused to include two of the military officials who were part of that cabinet. And so they held them under house arrest for a couple of days, and now he was the deputy, but he fired his boss. What? And then now he's the president. So ECOWAS is saying, hey, you need to clean that up. We do not want to be sitting in this meeting with a military junta. We need a civilian, a person to be the head of Mali. So now that ECOWAS has suspended Mali's membership from the bloc, I think AU will follow suit, because I've told you here before, and I'm reminding us again, as long as you are led by a military, you cannot be a member of the African Union. So the reason why AU has not suspended Mali yet, I'm not sure, but they're supposed to have been suspended immediately. ECOWAS did that, and the Mali went against, was not cooperating with this mediation effort from the ECOWAS team. Remember, they had sent a former president of Nigeria, Jonathan Goodluck, as the mediator in this situation. I think he got so frustrated. I'm told he just walked out of this meeting that happened over the weekend. And so ECOWAS said, hey, after they went meeting in Ghana, said, we have suspended you. And Goita did not say much. His team did not say much. I think African Union should have followed and did the same way. But the problem of isolating Mali at this point in time might not be for the good of ECOWAS, might not be for the good of perhaps the rest of that region and the Sahel region, especially when it comes to the war against terrorism. Because now, if you have been suspended from ECOWAS, even the the multi-agency, the cooperation that is not there, that they have been having when it comes to the fight against insurgency. So that will be very dangerous. So isolating Mali will not be the right thing to do, especially right now. But also, if they're not adhering to some of the requirements of the bloc, so why have them? And in the same breath, why has African Union not suspended Mali yet? I don't know, because they're not supposed to be there yet. They're not supposed to be a member because the military has assumed leadership of that country. And as long as you're led by the military, you're not supposed to be part of the African Union. So let's wait for what Mohamed Moussa will say, the chairperson of the African Union. And so, okay, very well. So that is the latest. And then, of course, Chad now is accusing Central Africa of killing of its soldiers. And so that is also, I hope it's not a war that is emanating. And Somaliland went to its election today. This will be its 17th election after declaring independence from Somalia 30 years ago. And of course, it has not been recognized internationally as a country, although it operates as a nation, a state, and is largely very, very peaceful compared to its mother country. And what else did I want us to talk about today? The issue of South Sudan very quickly. And then because I'm about to go, I only have like 3 minutes. But let me know where you're watching me from and how you're observing the 54th anniversary of the day that the declaration was made, the declaration of the breakaway state of Biafra on 30th of May 1967. Let me know how you're observing this day wherever you are across the world. But in South Sudan, the United Nations Security Council, of course, voted to extend the sanction regime for a year, the arms embargo for a year. So it will remain active until the 31st of May 2021. So that new embargo came into effect today. And South Sudan Minister of Foreign Affairs, I presume he was speaking on behalf of the South Sudanese government. He's saying this is not a good idea because our unified forces are supposed to be, are supposed to be graduating. They're supposed to have graduated in 2019, sir. Why have they not graduated? So they're supposed to be graduating. They have not graduated. Last year, they're supposed to graduate. They did not graduate. But he's saying, should they graduate, then we do not have enough arms to give them. So what essentially this arms embargo is doing is this measure is punitive. It is a punitive measure that undermines the sovereignty of the nation and jeopardizes progress on the implementation of the revitalized agreement. What? Sovereignty of what nation? South Sudan? Are you serious? Can you get yourself together first? Get your country together. Then talk to us about sovereignty of a nation. No. Arms embargo, you cannot be allowed to buy arms in South Sudan when the country is not stable. That will be more dangerous, I think, to the country. But even as we speak, there is proliferation of a lot of arms. There are a lot of people there who own, arms in, both licit and illicit in South Sudan, with a lot of people owning arms there. So anyway, it doesn't make it any better. And last week, the United Nations Security Council voted to extend the sanction regime for a year, despite resistance from the two countries, that is India and Kenya, that absented from the vote. So Kenya was perhaps, maybe they know better why. And South Sudan is not very happy. So Thomas Kenneth, the ambassador, stated that the action by the United Nations Security Council undermines the sovereignty of the country and leaving the country prey in an event of external and internal aggression. Besides, the defense forces of South Sudan are reported to have about 351,500 firearms. And apparently that is not enough. And they are protesting against the renewed arms embargo there by the United Nations Security Council. All right. Okay. And the United Nations Secretary General, a couple of days ago said one of the conditions if you want this arms embargo to be lifted is for the leadership of South Sudan to make sure that sections of the revitalized peace agreement of 2018 is implemented, and you have refused to do that. So you can't have your cake and eat it. You either make sure that the revitalized peace agreement, very important aspects of it are implemented, or you just, the arms embargo stays. So you have to choose which one, okay? South Sudan, all right, very well. So let me just read a few of your comments here. Rafson Dikom, you're saying we're doing a great job. Thank you. Chidima Bright, thank you for watching. Zekaria Mukok Mabeng, you're saying you're watching from Canada, North Africa. And Joseph Ishioke, you're saying you're watching from Calabar and you're sitting at home. Okay. Frank, you're saying ECOWAS should suspend terrorist Nigerian government sponsored a terror group. If African countries remain silent, they must all get ready to have Nigeria ship terrorism across Africa, across African countries. All right, so I see you have very strong feelings about what is happening in Igwe. Solomon, you're saying, I want the world to know that the Nigerian army are still killing armless. But Igwe, how are you commemorating this day? How are you commemorating the 54th anniversary of the declaration of the breakaway state of Biafra that happened on the 30th of May 1967? What are you doing today? Did you sit at home? Did you go to school? Did you go to work? What did you do? Did you go to the market? People have to eat now. All right, what did you do? Or what are you doing? Because I think the day is still young. It's 3 minutes past 4 p.m. here. It's 4 p.m. here in Nairobi, so I guess my time is up for today, but I'll come back here tomorrow because I want to hear how you spent your day today. Thank you so much for watching. This has been Diaspora Dispatches. My name is Miriam Mugutu. It was a pleasure. Bye-bye for now.
Conflicts exist on this continent. One of the most ranging conflicts on the continent of Africa is the question of Biafra. From 1965 or before that, the Biafrans had their own institutions. Before the colonial master arrived, they have agitated themselves, they have told the world they want fair treatment in a nation called Nigeria. Successive regimes have always trampled upon the rights of the people of Biafra, destroyed them, killed their younger men, assassinated many, deported many, excluded many, forceful deportation out of your own country. Time has come for the new generation in 2020, 2021, 2022, for people to sit down to find an everlasting solution to the conflict that is around that region. President Buhari promised us that he will finish in 100 days. The first term of office, Boko Haram will be dead. Today is finishing his second term. Boko Haram is even more vibrant than his own shoes. We have landed in very serious murky waters that the people of Nigeria don't know which direction they are going. The people of Nigeria, a big country with a big population, an economic hub of West Africa and Africa, with the biggest reserves of oil, still lingers in poverty. The poverty and the rich gaps in Nigeria are wider than the distance between Mars and Earth. What can we do for our countries in Africa? How do we unite? For us, our role is to speak, to defend the voiceless, to chart our way forward to find a solution. The only way solution can be got on the Biafran issue is a referendum, which Buhari and the government present have refused. But sincerely speaking, Nigeria needs rearrangement. If that rearrangement does not come today, tomorrow, or the other day, one day it is going to explode. People can be pushed, but they cannot be pushed beyond what Biafrans have been pushed. The suffering is too much. Pictures that I cannot show on this television. I call upon President Uhuru Kenyatta as a member of the United Nations Security Council to see that some of these problems should be resolved and a resolution is passed of sitting down to understand the difficulties of the nations, especially in Nigeria, in Cameroon, because the problem of Biafra is also similar to the problem of Amazonia. The English-speaking people have no say in Cameroon. They are taken as second-class citizens. Biafrans are also taken as second-class citizens in a country called Nigeria. Their problems are compounded with a dictator who has lost direction, who doesn't know where the wind is blowing from, whether east of Sahara or west of Sahara. He's going north when the wind is going north, south. Therefore, it's blown one leg going up, one leg going down. Look at the picture of Buhari standing 6.1 feet, being blown apart. Thank you.
The government of Kenya is keen on the development of social economic infrastructure to support the realization of the Big Four agenda and Vision 2030. The ambitious infrastructure projects are aimed at opening up the country for business and bolster productivity, particularly in the agricultural, manufacturing and the service industry, as this would bolster employment opportunities. Part of these critical infrastructure projects include the ongoing 27-kilometer expressway linking Nairobi's Jomo Kenyatta International Airport and Nairobi's Westlands. Upon completion, the expressway will exponentially reduce travel times within Nairobi and thus help the country save man-hours, which is being lost in the traffic jams on a daily basis. The Lake Victoria Port Modernization Project to increase cargo handling capacity of the port and to increase Kenya's bilateral and multilateral trading within the region. The expansion of healthcare facilities to facilitate fruition of the country's universal healthcare coverage under the Big Four agenda. By speeding up movement of people and goods, it's aiming to promote trading through reduction of travel times and costs.